Hello. In this video I would like to say a few words about my trip to Iraqi Kurdistan. I completed this trip in August 2022 and now I'm already get back, and how you can judge by the background, I'm staying now in Southeast Asia in Ayutthaya, Thailand. Unfortunately I got not enough of footage to illustrate my trip, so it will be like a few episodes from here from Thailand that I will only talk about what I have seen during my trip. It was one of the most interesting trips I ever got. There are plenty of historical artifacts and it's like a cradle of civilization, this area of the Near East. I definitely suggest you to visit it, and first of all I would like to say a few words about how you will arrive there. There are a few possibilities how you can get to Iraqi Kurdistan. First of all, take direct flight to Erbil. It's possible from many other hubs, and another one way it's pretty possible to arrive from Turkey or from Iran. In my case I arrived from Diyarbakir, so I catch the bus on Turkish side, and this bus going through Mardin. Mardin is quite notable place in Turkey. It's very close to Syrian border. Actually, when you stay in Mardin, you visit the citadel of Mardin, you can see Syrian territories from there, from the top of the hill. So the bus is going from Diyarbakir to Mardin, and after that it's arrived to Erbil. But I personally suggest you to drop off in Duhok. Duhok is interesting itself. It's one of the most ancient cities in the Middle East, like many other places in Kurdistan. So Duhok, I suggest you to make Duhok the first stop on your way. Actually, it's very near to Mosul. I guess a bit more than 100 kilometers from Mosul. Mosul is also a famous place, but mostly because it was a capital of unrecognized state of Islamic State of Levant and Iraq. Nowadays the situation with the safety in the region become much smoother, and you can travel there without taking a really significant risk. But sure, it's Middle East, it's unstable region, and nobody can give you a guarantee. So a few words about another one important archaeological site in surroundings of the Duhok city. It goes Halamata Cave. Actually, it's a cliff carving that depicts ancient Assyrian kings and surrounding of deities. It's dated back to the 7th century before Christ. Also, it's difficult to say, it's a really well-known archaeological site. Not many tourists visit this place. For example, when I got here, it was difficult to find, even though to find a trail, how to walk here, and the place looks a bit abandoned and negligence. Yes, it left by the local authorities in negligence, I'd rather to say. And also I've been reading about some part of the cliff carved figure been stolen. It's been cut as a panel and been stolen from here. It happened in 2016, as I can remind. But in general, this archaeological site, it's quite interesting, absolutely authentic. So everyone who visit Duhok in Kurdistan, I definitely recommend to get here to this point. It's a Zoroastrian temple. It located, it's kind of in the bones of the city. So it's just a huge hill where you can climb, and there you will find a chain of caves and some ruins of the ancient Zoroastrian temples. In my understanding, it's quite notable. It's interesting. I suggest you to visit it, especially Fokalum Cave. It's probably the most famous. At the present time, what you can see is a background is a Zoroastrian fire temple. It's located in underskirt of Duhok city, the province of the Kurdistan that located very close to Turkish border.
In the past, Zoroastrianism was a dominant religion in the region that includes nowadays Iraqi Kurdistan, but it was largely lost. In ancient times, the flame was continuously maintained on the altars of this temple of fire-woshipers. But today some followers of Zoroastrianism are afraid to practice publicly their religion. Probably therefore Zoroastrian fire temple in Duhok represented as historical place, but not as a place of worship for followers of this religious tradition. Other fire-worshipping structures that existed in antiquity but then destroyed are scattered along the hillside on the way to the cave. There is a waterfall near the cave alongside with the fire. Natural water sources are considered in Zoroastrianism as an object of the worship.
Another one notable place I should mention in my trip report, it's Al-Shihan. Al-Shihan located approximately in the middle. No, Robe is located in the middle. Al-Shihan is a bit closer to Duhok. So Al-Shihan is interesting because in surroundings of this place you can find the ruins of ancient aqueduct been built in ancient Mesopotamian era, and there you will find an ancient writings on the bricks. As well, you can find description of this place, and probably you can get some instructions from the staff of the archaeological museum in Duhok. Archaeological museum in Duhok, it's probably must-see site in this city. If you continue your way from Duhok to Erbil by the taxi, probably, because there are no any other way of public transportation in this area, you should drop off in Robe. Robe located exactly in the middle between these two points, and from Robe you can catch another one taxi and heading towards Mosul. But after the 35 kilometers of ride you will find another one interesting place, Mor Mattai Christian monastery. Actually it's one of the few survived ancient Christian temples of Syriac Orthodox Church. And what you can see nowadays, it's a bit modernized place, yeah. But what is located up to the slope of the hill, it's an ancient and authentic ruins of that monastery that had been existed there 3rd century Christ era. Mor Mattai monastery became famous because, as I can remind, it happened in 2014 or 2015. Or even the early, I'm not really sure about the days. So this place been captured by ISIS fighters, and they practice of shooting on Christian symbols in this monastery. For a smallish period of time, this monastery became their base, military base of location, and they used this place for the raids of surroundings of Mosul city. In this trip I should mention Mosul city itself. In my understanding it's supposed to be one of the most interesting places in the whole Near East, but unfortunately if you have only your visa is valid only for Iraqi Kurdistan, you can't get there. As I mentioned already above, mostly you will use a taxi to move from one place to another. Taxi is very common, you can catch it almost at any time and any place. There are some exceptions, but not so many of them. What about public buses? It exists especially about for international transportation. And you're supposed to be ready for military block posts on the way. So how it happens to me, when you move between the biggest cities of this autonomous region of Iraqi Kurdistan, in fact it's almost independent state. Yeah, it's very close to full independence. So I've been stopped a few times, but when the soldiers, officers will see you on the checkpoint, they are not really interested about you. When they see you a foreigner, when they see a foreign passport, they mostly check local people. As my friend told me, he just followed my steps and been travel in this region autumn this year, and he told me like he been stopped on the way from Erbil to Mosul. He want to visit Mosul. and soldiers told him like with this kind of visa he cannot pass to this checkpoint, and he's supposed to take a flight. So domestic flight could be also a way of transportation in Iraqi Kurdistan, especially if you go into the other part of the country, I mean Republic of Iraq itself.